We all know screens are practically glued to our hands these days, right? And that constant ping of notifications, it's basically the soundtrack to our lives. But what is this modern digital lifestyle actually doing to us right beneath the surface? Well, today, in this explainer, we're jumping straight into the hard data to uncover the hidden medical and psychological costs of our devices. Just think about this number for a second. 100. On average, you and I spend 100 full days every single year completely absorbed by the internet. That's roughly 7 hours a day? We're not just using technology anymore, we're literally inhabiting it.
And here's where it gets wild. While our global internet use was absolutely exploding, something else was quietly happening in the background. Between 2000 and 2019, the World Health Organization reported a staggering 70% increase in diabetes. Plus, deaths caused by heart disease skyrocketed from 1 million to 9 million. So our massive shift in behavior correlates directly with a terrifying decline in our physical health. Which brings us to the core of our explainer today, the work of researchers Bensoulah Nureddin and Joka Suafia.
To really get to the bottom of this mystery, Bensoulah Nureddin and Joka Suafia did some heavy lifting. They comprehensively reviewed 14 distinct scientific studies and reports. Their goal? To figure out exactly how this information and communication technology is mutating our bodies and our minds. Their incredible work is the entire foundation for what we're looking at today.
Let's start with Exhibit A, the physical toll. So Nureddin and Suafia point us to a really eye-opening, randomized study out of Iraq that looked at people living near cell towers. The physical effects of those electromagnetic waves were just overwhelming. I mean, a massive 80% of people reported feeling general physical weakness. Over 60% were dealing with nervous tension, unusually high body temperatures, and even weakened vision. Nearly 60% had headaches, nausea, and sleep disorders. This invisible infrastructure that powers our internet, it carries a very real physical weight. And it actually goes deeper than that. Research from Nottingham University, which Nureddin and Suafia also detailed, shows that these electromagnetic waves can literally accelerate the growth of cancer cells. If that wasn't enough, experiments by the U.S. Department of Defense found that brain cross-sections exposed to these same waves showed a distinct weakening in how they respond to stimuli.
But it's not just the waves, it's our daily habits. When we're spending 7 hours a day glued to a device, we aren't moving. And physical inactivity is a massive, often fatal risk factor. To put it in perspective, this inactivity drives a shocking 49% of chronic disease deaths in Oman, 41% in Libya and Morocco, and 28% in the UAE.
Now, look at the younger generation. Kids aged 8 to 18 are spending 44.5 hours a week practically motionless in front of screens. Think about that. That's more time than a standard full-time job, all of it spent completely static. This perfect storm of total inactivity is directly fueling a catastrophic global surge in youth obesity.
Which brings us to Exhibit B, the mental health epidemic.
Because if this tech keeps our bodies completely stagnant, we have to ask, what on earth is it doing to our brains? Dr. Adam Gazzaley hits the nail on the head here. He notes that we're going through a massive cognitive and psychological crisis driven entirely by emotional dysregulation, which drastically increases the chances of depression and extreme stress. We aren't just getting distracted anymore. Our fundamental ability to regulate our own emotions is literally breaking down.
The tragic reality of this emotional dysregulation is summed up in one genuinely chilling statistic. Between 2007 and 2017, which, you guessed it, is the exact decade smartphones really took over our lives, there was a 56% surge in suicide rates among 10 to 24-year-olds. It just shows you how deeply this virtual environment is altering developing minds.
Fast forward to today, and 1 in 5 teenagers is suffering from a diagnosable mental disorder. As Nureddin and Suafia point out in their research, social media has manufactured this kind of social passion, basically a desperate, endless drive for instant digital validation. Constant exposure to peer comparison and cyberbullying leaves these developing brains hypersensitive, paving the way for severe anxiety and trauma. You know what else is terrifying? How digital violence actually physically desensitizes us. A study by Bushman and his colleagues proves this mechanically, step by step. First, they had participants play a violent video game for just 20 minutes. Immediately after, they showed them 10 minutes of actual, real-world human violence. By measuring their heart rates and skin responses, the researchers found a frightening lack of physiological reaction. Just 20 minutes of digital violence had effectively muted their natural human empathy.
And finally, let's look at Exhibit C, the the social and family disconnect.
Right inside our own homes, we are seeing a modern tragedy unfold. On average, spouses now spend under 2 hours actually talking and interacting with each other. Compare that to the over 5 hours they spend completely isolated, just scrolling on their own individual social media feeds. We're handing our absolute best focus over to total strangers on the internet and leaving only emotional scraps for our own families.
According to the research, this level of excessive screen time leads straight to familial neglect and the breakdown of marital relationships. People are sharing their most intimate details with online friends instead of their spouses, and it slowly erodes the foundational trust of the entire family unit. We are honestly just too busy staring at screens to engage with the reality right in front of us.
So, let's get to the verdict. A mutated lifestyle. When you bring all this data together, Benzula Nuruddin and Yoka Safira's comprehensive work definitively proves one thing. Our virtual digital environment has rapidly and dangerously mutated our traditional human lifestyles. From electromagnetic waves bombarding our cells, to physical stagnation, to algorithms actively fracturing our mental health and our families, the evidence they uncovered is undeniable. We are adapting to a digital environment that is fundamentally hostile to our own well-being.
So, I want to leave you with one final vital question regarding your own personal habits. Out of the 100 days a year you spend staring at a screen, how many are actually serving your health? It's a question worth asking yourself today. Technology is incredible, for sure, but as we've seen in this explainer, it comes with a very heavy cost. Thanks so much for joining me, and until next time, stay curious and stay focused.